It sounds very haunting. I like it. I'd like to try one just to see what it does. A touch warmer. Play out just a little bit more. Even though I think I'll probably use the one you just did, which sounded lovely. I generally do all the percussion and synthesizers and odd stuff. I record myself, and I'll take that in with me. In The Corpse Bride, there's a lot of harpsichords and organs and things like that. Those will play along with the orchestra. When I record orchestra, I just want to record orchestra. I don't want to record anything odd or unusual or difficult to mic or something where I'm going to have to spend time tweaking the sound. I prefer to find those sounds, play it myself, and then take the parts in. Really, it's just like, it's very subtle performance things. We're just going to get a few moments are very light and tricky. Here comes the crowd. I'm trying to musically tell a story whenever I score a film. Occasionally, I'm literally telling a story, so that's getting very direct. It's like, okay, we're telling the story of how the corpse bride got to be a corpse and what happened to her. So, tell it in a song.
Hit it, boys.
It was Tim's thought early on, which I pretty much did, is that in The Land of the Dead, it's kind of jazzy. In fact, Bone Jangles song is, in fact, like a 1930s Cab Calloway song.
I'll tell you a story, make a skeleton cry of our own deliciously lovely corpse bride.
Remains of the Day, the Bone Jangle song, I intended it for a gruffer voice. And we auditioned 25, 26, 27 people, at least. And then finally, Tim called and he said, look, would you mind just doing the song? The Bone Jangles song is a little gruffer, it's like this, and it's kind of hard for, it was really brutal.
Now when she opened
Bone Jangles, I was hoarse for the rest of the day. Part of a composer's work is coming up with music, but a big part of our work is getting inside the director's head and understanding what's going to make them respond.
There in the shadows, was it the man? And then, the little heartbeat so loud. And then,
working with the songs with Tim is always fun. You're just telling a story and putting music to it.
He is definitely going back to his roots with those songs.
Looks great, yeah.
Mike Johnson, who's co-director on this, he's the guy there on the day-to-day kind of slugging it out in the trenches.
Stop motion is such a painstaking process. There's so much detail, there's so much physical work that has to be done to move the project forward, literally frame by frame. Mike comes from a really strong stop motion background, and so he inspires the group and kind of leads them through the Herculean task of getting these shots out.
Mother never approved of Scraps jumping up like this. But then again, she never approved of anything.
Looks good. A stop-motion project on this scale, it's a rare thing. These projects don't come around very often.
If you're making a live-action film and you're doing it all in blue screen, it doesn't give you that same sort of feeling as actually being there, which this process does.
Quiet down now, everyone.
But keeping it real and keeping it live, because I think that's what makes it very accessible and appealing.
Now then, where were we?
Stylistically, stop motion offers something very unique, which is every single thing that you see on screen was created by a craftsperson or an artist.
Animators get cast to their strengths. I mean, you've got some animators that are good at action and some that are better at close-ups that show, you know, flitting little emotions.
Phil Dale is someone that is amazing. I mean, he did all of these scenes where Victor and Victoria meet at the piano. It's such a sensitive scene where they say very few things and they're both very shy, and yet you really feel like those two puppets are falling in love.
You play beautifully. I do apologize, Miss Everglot. How rude of me to... Well...
We've been shooting 14 weeks, and it's just taken that long so far to piece it all together.
A lot of people thought that computers and digital technology would be the death of stop-motion animation, but really it's bringing it forward.
This is a Canon EOS 1 Mark II.
It's a stills camera.
It's a very sophisticated 35mm digital camera that they shoot with.
Very high quality. It's 12 gigabit, and simply using the data from those frames to stitch a whole film together in single frames. And we can only do this because it's an animation, and the movie is essentially being shot frame by frame.
She's put in a lot more hours than I have, put it that way.
One of the advantages of shooting digitally is that we can see the rushes 2 or 3 times a day.
Nowadays we have computers and video assists, so as we're shooting we can see what we've captured, so we're not animating blind. That helps us to get an idea of the flow of the animation and make sure that the quality stays consistent in that respect.
Basically, we use the computers to trigger the camera and seize the frame. The animator presses a button and that instructs the computer, and the computer will move to the next frame position, shoot the camera.
It's the first time we've ever been able to see things so immediately, and you can make changes as necessary.
The whole notion of, you know, click, next frame, click, next frame. There's a part of you that thinks it may be kind of, you know, well, but it's not. It's super fascinating.
We simply do the voice, and they then have to fit the facial expressions and lip movements to the words. Well, it's always been like that since the very beginning. That probably is the toughest job of all, I would think, from the point of view of putting it all together.
We had a list of 84, 85 characters. Main characters, secondary characters, and incidental characters.
We can't really give one character to one animator, which would be ideal, but everyone has to work together to, you know, there's so many different shots for individual characters that everyone ends up doing a little bit with each character. So yeah, matching the style and the performances, it's one of the challenges.
People get very attached to the characters they're working on, and I think, especially with this project, the character designs are so fantastic that people want to make every element of that puppet shine, and they have spent hours on every little detail of that character.
I do.
There's just an energy that gets infused into these puppets.
Special, very unique look, movement, and it's beautiful. And also, it's like a lot of great things, you know, it's a dying art.
To be able to see these characters in the studio environment against the sets and speaking dialogue and what have you, it's been a great revelation, and you think, wow, you know, that's what it's all about.
That's why everything, every last little thing, every single tiny microscopic little thing must go according to plan.
The director has to have a total picture in his mind of exactly what he wants. And that's what's so wonderful about Tim. He really is my favorite director.
There's always a bit of a dark side to Tim's work.
Coming through, coming through. My name is Paul. I am the editor.
And the inventiveness he has and the imagination he has.
Can the living marry the dead? It's a very particular place for an actor to dwell, is in Tim Burton's imagination.
He's got this very stylistic, I mean, he's got such fingerprints to him, you know, you see them at once.
Tim's approach is the approach of an artist, almost like a painter, you know, looking at a blank canvas.
It's a great thing that in this day and age of computer graphics, that somebody with the vision of Tim Burton has come along and said, yeah, but we can still make model animation films.
Tim Burton's the patron saint of this craft right now, and I doubt that we'd be doing this without his influence.
It was like a little short story, it was only a couple of paragraphs long. It just sort of captured my attention, and, you know, I was always looking for something else to do in the stop-motion medium. It just seemed like it was right for that particular type of animation. Hey guys, how you doing? This is a big one.
His ideas and his projects are what kind of brought it back into the public eye. A lot of the dinosaur effects and things that it used to be used for, that was all going to computer. It's because of his interest and his